Hey guys, it's Arlyn of Awaken Spanda, and we're back with a new series, Pass the Mic. Pass the Mic is where we'll be dismantling the illusion that only the experts get to speak. As you know, we live in a culture saturated in academic ideas and belief systems, and here we engage with a wide variety of souls who align themselves with the sacred, with the ancestral way, and with consciousness. So we're speaking to the adepts. So here you'll be getting information you won't necessarily be getting in the mainstream. Our hope is to really just inspire you on your journey into sovereignty. So today I'm excited because we have a very special guest, Sarah Poe, with us. Sarah, just to give you a little background on Sarah, Sarah is a soul coach, an intuitive, a wellness advocate, and a love ambassador at Pose for Peace. Sarah overall is just an incredible high vibe being, very much adored and very much loved. We certainly appreciate her offerings here in this time space in 2020, as she serves as a very bright guiding light to all. So today we're going to be talking about, Sarah just recently did a destiny mapping reading with me, and this was just kind of like the grandmother of all grandmother readings. Like once you get this reading, I don't think you'll ever need to do another reading. Seriously. She's combined like just, it's like a variety of astrology and then the human design and gene keys, which we're gonna let Sarah get into explaining all of the above. For myself, I had only really gone as far as to read into my astrology chart, and that it really is just what I was teaching myself. So I had very limited knowledge on just exactly how deep my chart went, which, as we kind of say, as above, so below, it's so important to really know these things about ourselves, to really be able to understand ourselves a little more and a little deeper. So in my case, it was really affirming to my journey and affirming to where I am. And honestly, at this time and where we are in 2020, it's like it was just so vital for me to get this reading. And honestly, I haven't even begun to go through all the information. I started, and it's just it's like there's so much to it that I've just been going really slow and just really absorbing every bit of it. So with that said, I want to pass it over to Sarah. So Sarah, you can go and click your mic on. I just saw Monet's name and then I thought Monet for a minute. Her daughter, she's on her phone right now. But so I just want to start with first just asking you like to give us a little background into what brought you into destiny mapping and this creation of destiny mapping.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me in this space and giving this a platform and a voice. And yeah, my purpose brought me to the purpose of destiny mapping. I've been a photographer for about 20 years, but all along the journey of my photography, with everything I was doing in my life, I've always been somebody who loves to inspire other people to live their purpose. Like and that's part of the farmers market's mission with me, was helping people to find what they love to do and go do that in the world. Because when we find what we love to do and what we're here to do, it not only lights up us, but it lights up the whole world. So it already had been part of my soul's purpose and my path. And then about a year ago, I was led, after my own reading from one of my intuitive friends, to go to a sister circle in Asheville, where I met my then teacher, who she started to explain to me about this. And she went in and did a little mini reading for me on my human design. She asked me, well, do you know what your human design type is? And I was like, what's human design? You know, I had no idea. And she also then broke me open to the different types of astrology. And I found out that my sun sign's not a Gemini, and I'm actually a Taurus sun sign. Whoa. So yeah, that was like the beginning.
Yeah, that's so cool, because that was for me a big part of this was the astrology that you actually use. Can you talk a little bit about that? The sideral?
Yes. So what I discovered was that there are two different types of astrology. Well, I guess there's several different types of astrology, but there's two main. The Western system uses what we call tropical astrology, which is what we normally hear about, especially in the United States. And then there's another called sideral astrology. And I had really only known a little bit about my astrology. I was never really that into astrology. I think there's something in my soul that kept me from that, because I am a truth seeker and there's something false in that. So I kind of have an awareness now too that probably why I didn't go down that road was because it wasn't meant for me. But so sidereal astrology is based on where the planets are now. It's based on where the stars and planets are now. But tropical astrology was created by the Gregorian calendar. Back when we set that, Roman Catholic Church set the Gregorian calendar and created the tropical system, where they've kept it at where the planets were then. And the planets have shifted almost 24 degrees, if not 24 degrees now. So say, for instance, a whole zodiac sign is 28 degrees. We're almost a whole zodiac sign shifted. So for instance, right now, you might think that you're Cancer sun sign, but we actually have 2 more days, I believe, as of this date that we're recording this, in Gemini sun sign. So it is locked in an old system, and it's not aligned with where the planets are now and with our soul's true path. So in destiny mapping, one thing we do in the very beginning, because destiny mapping is the soul's blueprint, as above, so below. So first we go as above and we look into the poetry of the stars that is our soul's blueprint. And we look at the tropical system to look at your tropical chart, and then your sidereal chart to see the difference and based on our conditioning, and then where our soul's aligned in this life. It's pretty powerful.
It really, really is. Yeah. So with so I'm assuming how it works is with the human design, the gene keys, it goes off of that you go off the sideral astrology, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So for me, that was a huge like eye-opening thing to I mean, everything that I thought it was not exactly what it was according to the tropical anyway. So it was just very eye-opening and very like aligning, actually, to really get that understanding. I mean, very powerful. But yeah, tell us more about design and like all of this.
Yeah. So another thing I'll say about the astrology is when we're looking at our astrology, a lot of times we only think about our sun sign. Well, number one, if it's false, then that's not aligned with our true self. And number two, we're not looking at the whole story of the zodiac and all the houses. And there's this beautiful poetry of the stars. And when you start to dive into that, you get a little puzzle piece into our heart's longing, how we're meant to make money in the world and sustain ourselves, how we're meant to relate to people, what we're here to learn, what we've learned in our past lives. Like, the story starts to weave together. And where I was a Gemini sun sign in my tropical chart, I still have major aspects of the Gemini in my sidereal chart, because this is the poetry of it. So my Venus is then in Gemini, which is, Venus is the planet of love, and the message is all about love. And then Gemini is a messenger. And I call myself a love ambassador. I called myself that way before I knew that. And then, so you start putting those pieces together. I know we found some of those same things with you. And one of my clients last week, she is a love leader. So she had her Venus in Aries, right, as a leader. It's like, wow. Yeah, so it's like this poetry written in the stars.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like with mine, oh gosh, now I can't really remember, but the harmony, like my message was the harmony and the balance and all that, which is like, it's all I ever like really talk about. And if you I mean, it's always like ended in a balance and a harmony. Like that's the message in general. So it's really, but yeah, so as far as the whole destiny mapping, is this something you just kind of created and brought all these things together, or like how did it come together where you have like the gene keys and human design and astrology all together? Like,
so yeah. So my teacher actually brought this through 4 years ago. I'll tell you about human design in a minute, but she is a projector. And so part of her spiritual gift is to bring in messages, right? And she woke up 4 years ago in the middle of the night with this message and just started writing for days. And what came through was destiny mapping. And the spirit of destiny mapping, that it has its own purpose. The same as when she, Spirit told her to write every morning. And so every morning she would get up and write till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and she ended up writing a book. That was the message coming through to her. The same with destiny mapping. And so it has a purpose of its own. And she had trained one woman before me, and then she was ready to train another woman. So yeah, it was me. I was ready for that, and she was ready to apprentice someone else. And so, yeah, I just dove in and started studying all this. And she's actually doing her first group course now, so Monae's in that to learn the system as well with 9 other souls. And yeah.
So cool. So powerful. Like when I say it really never had a detailed reading and like this ever before. And I think you would put it like it's like the blueprint, that right? Kind of like helps you with everything. And it really is. Like I was getting into it today and I was like, wow, like I really am processing it because it makes so much sense, but it's just like going through it with like baby steps, like, because it's a lot.
Yeah, I've heard from some of the people that have had a reading with Ahomna back 3 or 4 years ago, that they continue to have new information and new wisdom come up for them, things that they're meant to work on. And that's why we video record it. And you also receive the printouts, like 35 to 40 some pages, depending on what messages come through. And then you have that to come back to over and over. For me, I continue to look at my gene keys and my human design and continue to uncover who I am. I've been on a journey of what I would call healing for a long time. And now I'm not even using the word healing anymore. It's more of peeling away the layers to who I am and who I was created to be, really. And that's the gift of this, you know. Human design was a big part of it. Understanding our energy types is powerful.
Yeah, that's where I left off today was the human design as the gates or whatnot. Which, man, there was one that hit me. It was the 51, I think it is. It's the shock one.
Mm-hmm.
Me was like, yeah, like I've had so many shocking, like I had Kundalini experience it was like shock experiences. So it was just like this very like mystical, wild experiences that just shocked me into like a spiritual movement, awakening. But anyway. Yeah, so with that, tell us a little more about the human design though. Like, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
Yeah, so human design was brought in as a download from a man named Ra-Uru. Let me see, let me make sure I say his name right. But yeah, Ra-Uru. It was brought in about 1987. He had a spiritual, mystical experience where this information was downloaded to him. It's based on our 64 gene codes. And if you've ever heard of the I Ching or I Ching, however you choose to pronounce that, it's based on that as well, our 64 gene codes. And it is the science of our light body, I would say, or our spiritual body, and how we as energetic beings as electromagnetic, energetic beings, how we show up in the world and how we relate to each other. For me, it was powerful because of what type I am. And so, okay, I'll go into it and tell you what kind of types there are, because you might, who's watching this say, oh, that's me. So about 70% of the population are known as generators. And generators generate their own energy from what we call the sacral center, or around the gut. The human design system is based on 9 centers, similar to our 9 chakras, which are very similar to the chakras, or aligned with that. So our sacral center is where we generate energy, and generators are here to do what they love. They're here to work. They have sustainable energy. So the whole world's kind of based on this generator world, and they're here to do what they love. One thing that's interesting to me about generators is if they aren't doing what they love, they can create disease in the body, because they've got this energy going in their guts, moving through their guts. And if they're not doing what they love, not doing what their purpose is, they can literally be creating havoc in the body. And so I think there's this knowing within generators, like, I'm here to do something. And so they get stuck in the system of success, or I've got to work, because they know they're meant to work, but they're not waiting for the right thing that they're supposed to be doing, because then if they were doing what they loved, it wouldn't be considered work, right? So that's a little bit about the generators. Then there are 3 types of energy beings that are non-energy types, so they don't generate their own energy. 20% of the population are called projectors, who literally read into other beings, and they're processing. When they're in a room with people, they're literally processing and picking up on everybody that's in the room with them, right? So they're reading other people, and they're meant to bring in messages. A lot of people are guides, or it could be a nun, or prophets, or wisdom keepers. They're here to bring in a lot of wisdom and messages and to be eternal students, right? But they don't make their own energy, and they need to learn to rest a lot. They're not meant to work 9 to 5 jobs. They're not meant to keep up with the generator world. But say we don't know this about each other, and we're generator, you're living with a big generator family, and they're thinking, well, you're just lazy, you can't keep up with this, or you know what I mean? Yeah. You do. So a lot of times projectors can get really sick in their 20s, 30s, 40s. They kind of have burnout because they're trying to keep up with society. So that's a little bit about the projectors. Then we have manifestors, which make up about 8% of the population, and their throat center is defined, but they don't generate their own energy, and they're here to initiate things into the world and speak things into the world and to manifest, to lead. But they're not meant to do all the work. They're meant more to initiate things and work with people. But a lot of times they can burn out, right? Because they don't make their own energy. And I'm a manifestor. And when I learned this about myself, it really, number one, it was like a knowing, like, oh, that is who you are. And then it made sense all along the way. My whole life kind of made sense. How I've been trying to keep up with my generator family or the generator world, and how I have bursts of energy, and I have this creative pulse of energy and a great idea that I want to birth into the world. But then my energy doesn't last. And then, so when you're younger, like, you can become addicted to things to try to keep up with that adrenaline, or get addicted to coffee or whatever, because you're trying to have that energy that your system doesn't have, and then you burn yourself out. So I had a lot of burnout, and then a lot of feeling less than, because I couldn't keep up with everybody. And now I know when I have the energy to do something, I do it. And when I don't, I rest my body. I need to rest my body. So yeah, that's a little bit about manifestors. And then 1% of our population are called reflectors, and their entire system is open. So there are mirrors. They're always reflecting us when they're with us. So they're a very important part of society, and they're here to be our mirrors and to reveal things about ourselves, but they're not meant to work, and so they do really well in communities where they're honored for that. And I know some people that are reflectors, and they work in permaculture farms and travel, and they help garden on the farm, and they have a place to live, and they're just a beautiful addition to that community. So that's a little bit about it, but knowing that helps us to know how we relate to each other. And I mean, it's powerful. Yeah.
It definitely gave me some insight for sure. So getting into gene keys. Now, how does gene keys correlate?
So yeah, so the gene keys is also based on our 64 gene codes, which in the human design, you'll go through your 9 centers to understand yourself first. First, you know your type, then your 9 centers where you're defined or not defined, where you receive or give energy. Then there's 64 gates that also give us an even deeper clue about ourselves. Then we take that coding and we shift it into the gene keys. And what he came up with, Richard Rudd came up with the gene keys, is that there's a science in our bodies. Our bodies are these amazing, like, computer systems, really. And just like our cells regenerate every 7 years and we create new cells, we have the power to transform or mutate our cellular being down to our genes. And so this is powerful. This is where we take the blueprint or the body graph of our human design, and we go into the work of transforming what we call the shadow. So each gene has a shadow frequency, which is the lowest frequency or the lowest vibration of that gene code. And then there's the gift that transforms the shadow. And then there's the siddhi, which is the highest expression of that gene code. So say, for instance, the second gene is the remembering of the one, or unity. So the shadow is dislocation, being disconnected from the sacred or the divine, being disconnected from each other. And then that's the lowest frequency, is when we don't even realize our connectedness with nature, our connectedness with you and me, and our connectedness with the divine. When we're asleep to that, we don't understand that, we're disconnected, that gene is vibrating at the lowest frequency. But the gift is orientation, right? Or understanding and awakening to our connectedness. And then at the highest level, it's unity. So each one of our genes tells a story about us. And then the work is to transform that shadow frequency to the gift, so that we're vibrating at our highest frequency. So we're living our highest purpose. Does that make sense?
Totally, 100%. Yeah, I love it. Like, how would you say, like, I think right now, like, the time we're in, I mean, you just with events and, like, knowing where we are here in 2020, I think that, you know, I feel like this is a really valid time for people to really begin to come into understanding these sorts of things about themselves. I think we always should be working on some sort of mastery, and I think this is a beautiful part to it that, you know, would really help along the way. What are your thoughts on any of that? Like,
Absolutely. 2020, this was the time, you know, this is it. In 2012, we got the message, the download, what was coming in this, and it's now I see people awakening faster. Like this, I think things are happening faster. Yeah, if you turn off the news and you just tune into your own families and your communities, I'm seeing it happen. I see it and feel it happening fast for a lot of people. And even just like me getting the download to start doing this, like the people that are being drawn to this are ready. They're ready to remember who they are. They're ready to step into who they came, because I think the greatest pain point on the planet is not living your purpose. When we're not living our purpose, we're not living at a high frequency. We're living in a shadow frequency. We're comparing ourselves to everybody else, what everybody else has, what everybody else is, wanting, especially with our youth, wanting to be somebody instead of being ourselves. And I like to, as a musician, I like to connect it, and because I'm obsessed with sound, as a the masterpiece, the symphony that we're here to play, and each one of us has a note to play, and if we're not all playing it, that masterpiece symphony isn't going to be written.
I love it. That's a great analogy, because I always say that too with sound. Like I always try to explain to people like the body is a symphony, and like when a little, you know, things off or cells off, it's like, you know, having something out of tune in that symphony. We want to harmonize and come together and be vibrating at our highest.
Yeah, harmony is contagious. That's my new thing too. Like I'm here for unity. Yeah, it's wild. I just recently started my Venus path in the Gene Keys, and I looked last week at my pearl, which is our highest expression. It's like the siddhi for ourselves, who I'm here to be. And at mine, it's the second Gene Key. It's the divine feminine. It's unity. And I am like posed for peace. I am here. I want to cultivate peace. It's always been my heart. So now I know the work on how to transform and how to go through this journey so that I'm living in that highest expression. And that's when I live the most joy. That's when I am like a magnet to other people and to abundance. And I'm not so worried anymore about all the chaos in the world because I know my part to play. And it's funny, in my family and in my past relationships, there was a running joke that I would be the first one to die in the zombie apocalypse because I'd be running after everybody to save them. I'm like, that's so true. But Spirit really prepared me for now. So I'm not running into the fire. I'm living my purpose. And yeah, so.
I love that. I think that that's a beautiful analogy. Yeah, because like, yeah, I mean, that's I think that was like kind of the theme for a while almost too. Like even for myself as well, it's like I was kind of like just trying to like go after people and like, don't you know, like, come on, like get with it, wake up, you know. But like once you start just pouring into yourself and getting your alignment right, things just start. The energy is so much more powerful than the like push or the like scream. You know, the doing, you know, when we spend more time being and cultivating energy and doing our own work, our own self-mastery, which is a huge part of why I'm doing this whole series right now, so people can really just be inspired towards their mastery and really getting themselves tuned up for the orchestra.
Yes, I know. I used to be like, I'm going to change the world, and I had this savior mentality, and I recently made a post saying, I'm taking off my activist hat. You know, I'm not the savior of the world, because I realized in the last few years, especially after my time at Standing Rock, that in order, if I want to save the world and change the world, it starts with me. And I have to heal myself. It starts with my choices on the food that I'm eating and the farmers that I'm supporting and where I'm buying my clothing. And, you know, if I'm living my purpose. And even in my time at Standing Rock, when I remember, you know, we were there for 7 months, and we spent a little bit of time right there at the end with one of our dear friends who's one of the spiritual leaders for the Lakota. And I was grieving in his kitchen, just bawling, crying. And he told me a little story about, he said, number one, I had a Lakota heart. I had a heart for the world. And he said, Sarah, you have to learn how to return to joy if you really want to serve the world. And he also told me that I needed to go home and heal my bloodline and work on myself and my ancestral wounds and heal anything with my family, because that's where I would start the change in the world. And then I could come back and do the things I wanted to. And that was powerful for me. In that moment, everything shifted. Like, yeah, I still had wounds that I needed to heal, that I'd been trying to help other people and ignoring my own wounds. And when I step into my joy and who I'm here to be, I get to help even more. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's so powerful. And powerful for you to say that at this time when we're seeing everything right now. There's so many people that just, I can see the heart. I can see the heart where I know why you want to help. I know why you're like out, you know, it's this outward expression. But there's a difference between like saying, like you said, you have to be the change. The change starts in here. Like we say it all the time, we hear it all the time, And a lot of times people say it, but it's like there's a difference when you actually connect to it, you know, and you actually like, oh, and it clicks, and it's like, yeah, it's easy to say. I hear a lot of people say there's a difference in the connection, you know. So I think that's what you just shared that. So
Yeah.
important.
And my destiny map helped with that. Like that was a big part of the puzzle. I saw who I came here to be, and I started to remember, because when we all came here, we all chose to be here right now. We just choose also amnesia. And so we forget who we are and just how magical and divine and powerful we are. And so once I got my reading, all of a sudden I just started remembering, like, oh, that is who you are. And so I'm not distracted now, because I look at that and I think, okay, Sarah, this is who you are. And this is how you have to take care of yourself, because that helps me too. This is who your mom is. This is who Renee is. This is who your brother is. And now understanding them on a deeper level. I've started to do family readings now and working with couples and families. Wow. That's super powerful, super powerful, because then that mom understands their child on a deeper level. I mean, we've talked about in my family how we wish we would have known these things. Like, you know, I wish I would have known these things. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when you think about it on that level, that's powerful. I mean, to be able to understand your significant other, even, you know, to be able to understand your children in different ways, like, you know, we didn't come here with a manual, but we are, as we remember these things, it's so beautiful. That's so powerful. I really hope more families reach out to you for that.
I have my teacher is also starting it's called the Rainbow Path, that she has a vision, and I've had a vision since I homeschooled Monet of a platform where children were honored for their soul's spiritual gifts, and that we taught them based on that. You know, that's why I homeschooled Monet, was because I didn't want her spiritual gifts to be crushed by the school system, where they wanted to put her on Adderall and when she was 6 years old. And so that, yeah. And so many children. That was your path, yeah.
My mom was the only thing that stood in the gap there, because, you know, when I was young, because I was me, and I was flighty, and I had a really dysfunctional family. Whatever, my things were my things, but they were like, oh, she definitely needs Adderall. Like, she's just not, she can't focus. My mom was like, no, she just needs to like pay attention. Or I'm just glad she stood in that gap, because I never had that problem. I was put to that medication, or, you know.
Yeah. There's actually a gate in human design that they call, we don't label things, but it says this is where we get the idea of ADD. And it's actually a gate of genius. It's genius, the ADD. It's actually like being able to multitask, and like needing to be, they have to be doing what they're really passionate and they love to do. And then you can't stop them on that, right? So it's actually a genius that we're medicating. The same with autism and Asperger's, you know. You start to learn about how they have a very sensitive immunity, and they're very sensitive to the toxins and the food system and things like that. Once you start detoxing them of things, their gifts start coming online. It's just, yeah, it's very interesting. If we all knew this when we first had a child, powerful. It'll happen one day.
Yeah, it's coming. It starts with us, right? It starts with doing this, you know, like sharing it, teaching it. But yeah, like that's what you were saying about like the kids, like if we knew their charts and like knew their gifts, and we could pour into them that way, and that instead of like being the like the way the society's working, and with like the new world order and all this whole idea of like everybody's one consistency, right? And it's like it steals our sacredness. It takes our uniqueness and organic flow out of everything, and it's completely opposite of what we're talking about, actually. So
yeah, we're stifling our children's spiritual gifts that they came here to share with the world. They came to share their genius, and we put them in a school system that wants to put us all in boxes and rows, and then they forget that they have these powerful gifts that they came here. And then we go through all of this conditioning, and then we have to peel away all the conditioning as an adults, or worse, we're traumatized as a child, and then we have to peel away that. But yeah, even the simplest thing of knowing that your child's a generator and they need to run their energy out before they go to bed at night, or your child's a projector and they need to have more time in nature, more quiet time, and you know, these kind of things.
You had told me there was like a new, there'll be a new one that comes, a new archetype.
Mm-hmm.
You tell us about that one?
Yeah, so what I've been told or taught is that there will be a new energy type. So projectors only came onto the planet in 1761. So your type of energy being is newer to the planet, and that there's a new energy type that will be coming on the planet in, I think it's 2027 or 2033. It's one of those years. But they are more what we think is like autism children, kind of star seeds in that, they will be more telepathic, and they'll have a different kind of gift that they bring onto the planet that the planet needs right now. And so a lot of times we're looking at children that are autistic as having a disorder instead of having a really beautiful, special, powerful gift. The same with like recently, we've been talking about Down syndrome, and I'm like, I don't even want to call this a syndrome anymore. Like, we need new names for these things, because just like it's not post-traumatic stress disorder, it's post-traumatic stress. There's no disorder in it. There's nothing wrong with you. There's post-traumatic stress from trauma. But the same with like these energy types on the planet, they have really special gifts. And so there's a new one coming onto the planet soon that will help us in this next transition that we're in. Powerful.
Yeah, and I can see that. Where are we going along? But is there anything you want to like stress to anybody right now? Anything, any kind of guidance, words of wisdom, or things that would just be like, you know, about
yeah, just that, number one, to turn off, if you have cable, to turn that off. No, I really want people to tune out a lot of the chaos and suspend. For me, like, I've started devoting several days a week where I don't get on technology, don't get on social media. I really spend time tuning in and tuning out the outside world and tuning into my guidance, and just everyone to dive into themselves right now. And that all the change starts right around you, in your home, in your community, with the choices that you're making. The other big thing is that if you have a fear of disease, then that is inspiring you to honor your body, really get in tune with this body, because this body is so powerful. The fact that we can create a whole new set of cells in 7 years, what kind of disease and illnesses we can actually heal through plant medicine and frequency medicine, like those kind of things. Really, just we're the archetypes, we're the architects of our healing. And so let's all dive into our own healing, and yeah, and to learn what we came here to be, you know, and who we came here to show up into the world, and start doing that work. And that's really how the ripple effect's gonna happen. Yeah.
what's new? Like, so can you tell what's going on with you? You're you're getting ready to move, I think. Is that you were?
Yeah, I think the spirit is moving in us, and we're open to seeing where the spirit leads us next. And so we're gonna be doing some traveling here soon, and yeah, seeing where the spirit leads us. I love what I do because I get to do it from anywhere on the planet. So I do the destiny map readings. I'm still doing photography sometimes. I work with personal branding for photographers. And then I'm also working with a superfoods company. And so I help people align with, like, I help people build their immunity, and I help people detox. And so that's been something that's really powerful. It all just kind of came together in this last year. And so, yeah, I'm loving that. And one day there will be a large piece of land that we'll build a healing center on. And yeah, all those things. And I would encourage people to really write out those visions and really tune into what they're here to do, and to believe that those kind of things are going to happen faster than we even imagine them right now. Everything's kind of happening fast. Like, and if you ask for that, you have to ask for it, because we have free will. You have to ask for what you want, and you have to go out there and create it. But there's enough of us that want to do these things, and I think we're all finding each other and co-creating together. And yeah, step into what you love to do. Do what you love to do, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, you talking about the time like speeding up. Like, I mean, last week I had like I woke up on Friday, and as I was waking up, I was like going through my mental. Sometimes I'll like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do today to prepare for. I was having another interview with somebody else that day. Actually, I didn't think it was that day. I thought it was Wednesday in my head. I was preparing. It's like literally I had a 24-hour lapse of time. I mean, it was, and I sat and thought about it, and I'm like, did this really just happen? But it really like was like, I don't know where this time went. It just, I don't know, flew by. So are you feeling it that speed like that? Like, I feel like everything's just like.
Yes, I am. Yeah, especially, and then here's what, like in my June, the whole month of June, my body just didn't have a lot of energy. And so I just found myself resting and reading and surrendering to that. Like, now I know if my body doesn't have energy, I'm not meant to have energy. And then all of a sudden it started to come back, and it comes back in this burst of energy, burst of inspiration, you know, what I'm here to do. And, you know, even with readings and things like that, there'll be a break in it, and then all of a sudden here comes a lot of work that you're supposed to do. So, and it comes fast. And then I feel like all of a sudden things are just gonna start happening like really fast, especially when we're aligned with our purpose and what we're here to do. Yeah, and stop playing into the stories, any of the stories that we are not here to create, or the false, this false paradigm or whatever. Like, let's just put our energy into the stories we are here to create, because every moment of our time and our energy is like a currency, and how we spend it is powerful magic.
Yeah, big time. I totally agree, hands down. Yeah. Wow, this is awesome. I'm so glad you came on today, because you're just such a bright light, and I think more people need to hear from lights like you know. And as a manifester, you have this brilliant way of speaking to people that I feel that people really just are magnetized to. Because I really do. When I tell people love and adore you, that's the response I always get every time your name comes up or something. It's like, oh my God, Sarah. Everybody, you know, you just have that very magnetic. Um, Beautiful. So I'm really glad you came on to share with me today.
Thank you, Arlyn.
I hope everybody out there, if you have thought about at all getting a reading or knowing more about your chart, or digging in a little more, please contact Sarah. I'm going to have all her information in the box below. And also, it's Destiny. You want to go ahead and tell them your information real quick?
Yeah, Sarah? It's Destiny Mapping. My website, Sarah Poe Photography. And all my Destiny Mapping information is on there. Yeah, and if you send me a message to book and say that you saw this, then I have a little gift card for you for $55 off of your reading. So yeah, let's give you a little love offering there.
Yeah. And you guys will not regret it, honestly, because Sarah, she sits there with you. I think it's 2 hours. 2 hours, right? And like, she'll go through it with you and just, I mean, walk you through it, and you'll be blown away just by that. But then you'll get into the email she'll send you with all the pages of information that you can have forever and be able to constantly go back to it and revert to it. So it's really powerful, and I really recommend it. But yeah, I hope to have you on again. I want to keep up with you, and hopefully do some work with you soon. I don't know, who knows?
Yeah, thank you, Arlyn. I definitely see that in our future. And yeah, maybe we'll talk about frequency, as I've been diving into frequency medicine. That's my newest passion. So I think we'll have a lot to talk about with frequency next time.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's definitely the direction I'm heading in as well. So obviously we talked about that. So yeah, exciting. All right, well, we'll, I guess, close it out here. Thanks guys for being with us, and reach out. Yeah. All right, Wholeness fam. Okay.